Hi there guys, welcome to a new tutorial. We're going to be doing something a little bit simpler than a couple of previous videos. In today's video we are going to be covering sparks using a particle system. Sparks are a great particle because they can really add some believability to a scene. You know, a malfunctioning door, a fuse box that's just bursting. There's lots of little places that you can use them that can really help add more believability to your scene and to your games. So what I've got here is I've just darkened the lights and the skybox so that when we press play we can see a little bit better in the dark. The reason we're going to do that is because we're going to have these things glow and we're also going to have them emit light. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new material. I'm going to call this sparks _m. And under blend mode, change to a translucent and shading model unlit. Then we're going to right click and find a particle color. And this allows us to change the color of the particle in the particle system, the cascade editor. We're going to right click and find a radial gradient exponential. And this is exactly what it says it is. It's just a radial gradient. So the middle starts white and then it goes out towards black. So we have a value of 1 add to a value of 0. I'm going to hold M and left click for a multiply and take the alpha node, which is the bottom of the particle color, and the radial gradient exponential, and plug this in, and then plug this into the opacity. Now I can apply. That's all we need for our material. So I'm going to right click, create a particle system. I'm going to call this sparks _p. I'm going to open this up. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll go to my required and find the material. There we are. Now if you've also called this sparks, if you were to just search for sparks, you'll find another one, which is M spark. That's not the one that we want. This is the one that Unreal provides, and as you can see it's not the best of things. I believe it's a texture sheet. Well, it's a flipbook. So let's find our sparks again. There they are, sparks. Now in their spawn I'm going to want 40 of these. There we go. Then we have 40 of those. And their lifetime I'm going to leave at 1. Their initial size I'm going to set their maximum to 2 and their minimums to 1, so that we have a nice variation of size. In their initial velocity, I don't want these to be going up, I want them to go sideways, and then we're going to force them down using acceleration. So I'm going to make them go sideways in the Z. No, the X. Z is up. So 200 maximum X. The Y we're going to set to 1 and the Z we're going to set to 1, so we get like a little bit of up. And in the minimums, we're going to set the minimum X to 100 to make sure that they're always going in that direction. The Y we're going to leave at -10, and the Z we're going to set to -10 as well. This way we get like a nice little variation going on. Color over life, we're going to open this up, and inside of our points we have 2. And the first one is set to 0.0, which is when they begin. The second one is in value of 1.0, which is when they die. So in the 0.0 out value, we're going to open this up, and we're going to give this a nice blue color. So we're going to make sure this glows, so our value is going to be above 1, because anything above 1 will have an emission to it. So the red we're going to say is 15, the green is also 15, and the blue we're going to have slightly higher at 20, and this will give us a nice light blue, as you can see. And then in point 1 with the in value of 1, this is where our particle is destroyed. We're going to give a red value of 30, a green value of 25, and a blue value of 5, which gives us a nice yellow. And the alpha over life is still zooming out. The alpha over life is still fading out towards the left-hand side, as you can see. So they're slowly dying rather than just blinking out of existence, which is really nice. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give these some locations. We're going to say location, initial location seed. Now in here, we are going to say their maximum, we're going to set to 1 on the X, 4 on the Y, and their Z is going to be 6. And then we'll just leave all the minimums at 0. So now we get a slight variation of where they're spawning. They're not spawning from a single point with a little bit of extra velocity moving them around. They're actually spawning in different areas, which is going to give us a bit more randomization, so it's just going to look a little bit more believable. Okay, so now we need to make these arc downwards, so we're going to right click, acceleration, constant acceleration. I need these to go down, so we're going to use the Z, and obviously anything that is positive in the Z makes these go upwards, So we need a negative. I'm going to say negative 700, so we get this really nice R. Okay, so that's the acceleration. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to go size, and we're going to say size by speed. Now, if you open up size by speed, we get the speed scale and the maximum scale. So the speed scale we're going to set 0 on the X and 7 on the Y, and the maximum scale we're going to say 1 on the X and 10 on the Y. Now this isn't going to change anything because we have to change the required. So if we head into the required, on screen alignment we're set to PSA square. What we need is we need to get PSA velocity. If we set this to PSA velocity, this will change the shape based on their current velocity and speed, because we're using size by speed. As you can see, now we're getting this nice long emission at the start, and this get a little bit longer because we're giving them size by speed, so as they're getting more acceleration they get longer. So this is really nice. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to give these lights. We're going to say light, and we're going to say light seed. And now, let's see. The color scale over life, we're just going to leave that alone. The brightness over life, we're going to set to, yeah, we'll just leave that at 32. The radius, we don't want that much radius because that's going to be quite a large amount of light, so we're going to set that to 6.5. And the light exponent, we're just going to leave at default 16. So the next thing that we're going to do is we'll test this out in level. So if we drag this into the level, there we go, you can see that they're already lighting. It might be a bit too bright still. I'm going to just rotate this around, and I'm going to attach this to a wall, or get it close to a wall. Yeah, that's very, very bright, isn't it? So there we have this. And we can see these sparks are flying out. We're getting light emission from them, which is really too bright. So let's go back into that light. It's sometimes hard to see inside of here what light we've got. Brightness, we're going to drop this right down, say 10. Let's save that, see how that is. It's a little bit more believable, although I think that their radius can be even smaller. Let's say 2. So let's put this closer to the wall now. Yeah, so now we're getting some better radial lights. And we're just going to reset that to 16. I don't want to change that. Perhaps still even a little bit too bright. Maybe if we just turn the brightness down to 2. Yeah, 2 brightness. Yeah, that's nice because it's still quite a bright little light. You can see this flashing, which is quite cool. Right, so we're going to save that and we'll go back in. So next thing we're going to do is, as you can see, these are just kind of hitting the floor, and if we go down below they're just flying through. I don't want that. We need to add some collision to these. So we're going to right click and we're going to go to collision. I'm going to say actor collision. We're going to leave this on kill because we do want these to be able to pop. But we're going to go into the dampening factor. And we're just going to give these a little bit of dampening. So we're going to say 3 on the X, 1 on the Y, 0.6 on the Z. And as their minimums, -2, -1, -6. Okay, now we're going to leave the rotation alone, we don't need that. The maximum collisions, we're going to have to give this a little bit, because right now if we save this, they're just dying. We might get 1 or 2 that just fly through. No, they just die. I want to give these a little bit of bounce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give these particles a few more possible collisions. So I'm going to say maximum collisions, a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. And by doing so, we now have some that can bounce. You see only some are bouncing. So we've got some that are bouncing around when they hit the ground, which is quite nice. So we'll open this back up. Now, let's see. I feel like perhaps it's the dampening that's making these not bounce as far as I want them, so let's see. How far will they bounce with no dampening? Oh no, it's the dampening that's giving them some bounce. So, I want to give that a bit more dampening, so I'm going to say 10. See, that bounces them sideways this way. So let's see. I do want them to bounce a little bit to the side. So, I mean, they're going very far to the side now. You can see how far they're flying. Like, they're just flying away. So let's see. Because these aren't getting any Z, we're going to give these a maximum... Whoa! Now they're flying to space. Okay. So 1 might be a little bit high still, so we're going to say 0.5. There we go, and we'll say a minimum of negative 0.1. Because that will make sure that some of them do not bounce. The dampening will make sure that some of them stick to the floor and just disappear. Now the X is a bit too high, so we're going to say 5 and negative 1. And we need to give these some Y value as well, so I'm going to set their Y to maybe 5 and negative 1. Now 5 is a bit high on the Y, so we're going to say maybe 3. We'll set the X to 3 as well, because we don't want them to fly very, very far. Now we've got 1 or 2 that are still going a little bit haywire, so let's say 2. There we go, and maybe their Z is a bit too high now. Where we have the Z at before? We had it at 0.6 to negative 6, so we actually had it very rarely on the Z. Yes, there we go. So now we're getting only a couple that do actually bounce, which is really nice. I'm just going to change these values ever so slightly more, so I'm going to say negative 2, negative 1. So these are back to what I had before, but now I've got a little bit more in the maximums. So now they can bounce a little bit further. If they do bounce, they can go a little bit crazy. So there we go. That's nice on the dampening. So that's those finished. Yeah. So that's what we've got. We'll quickly save that. And now you can see that these are bouncing. But what we have here is a continuous steady stream. So we're just going to experiment with this a little bit. We're going to quickly duplicate this. So right click the particle system and duplicate. And we're going to call this sparks2_p. I'm going to drag this into the level. I'm going to try to match this one the best I can. Whee. It's a bit further into the wall, there we are. Pretty much. Now what I'm going to do is, in sparks2, I'm going to go to the spawn, and I'm going to change their constant down to 10. I want a lot less of these, and then I'm going to go to the burst list, and under the array I'm going to add a burst in, and I'm going to give this a burst count of 5. And now you can see that at the end of each emitter loop, which is 1 second, these are going to burst out 5 extra particles, which, as you can see here, gives us a bit more variation, because this is just spraying continuously. If you need something that sprays continuously, this one's fine. Let's move this away. Whoa, there we go. Yep, just go over there. We're neglecting that one for now. And if we press G for game mode, we can then see this, and you can see that we're getting this nice additional little spray there, which is quite cool. So now we've got like a little bit more randomization. It's not too randomized because we're always getting this 5 at the same time. So we could perhaps give this a different count. We could say a count of 3, and we could add another array element, and then say at 0.5 spawn another 2. There we go, that's a bit more believable now. There we are, so we just get an extra couple of sparks rather than this continuous steady stream. So let's grab the other sparks really quick and drag these back in so we can see the comparison. Oh no, we're holding both. There we go, come on. There we are, so we've got like the 2 different versions now. One that gives out this little splattering, and this one that gives out a constant stream. Now let's experiment further, so we'll duplicate the second emitter, and we'll call this sparks3_p. I'm going to quickly drag this in, rotate this, move this along. It would help if I had the right axis grabbed. Just drag it against the wall. try and get it to the same height, give it a decent distance between the others. I'm going to open this up, and in their spawn I am just going to remove their constant. So we're going to just get this little spluttering, but I'm going to say give this 5 and then 2, so we get this little, so it's just going to split them out. There we go, but we can take that one step further, so we can go into that and we can actually say in the velocity, rather than have these going out just a little bit on the Y, we can give this quite a decent number, so we could say 50 to negative 50. So now we get like this poofing. So now they can splutter at a larger radius. Maybe even higher than 50. Maybe we'll say we can go 100 to change that to negative 100. Then we can get, there we go. So we got now this nice little burst that goes in a random direction. Or almost random. So there we have it. Using one particle system, we've now got 3 different sorts of spark particles. Hopefully that's something that you guys can use, and this has been helpful for you and been easy to follow. Yeah, so before I sign off, I realized this morning that you guys have got me to 500 subscribers, and that's awesome. Thank you so much for finding my content worthy enough of, you know, having it spam your screen. It means a lot to me. It means I must be doing something correct. I really do hope that you guys find my content useful. I'm just trying to help people. So there we are. The little sad bit at the end completed. I'll see you guys next time.